right, good afternoon, everyone. We're just at the noon hour here, so we're about to start going.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're about to start in a moment. We're just waiting for a couple of more attendees to come on. We're trying to be respectful of your time, and we'll start promptly in another minute or two. Thank you very much. We'll be right back to you. All right, good afternoon. Welcome to 12 Points webinar for July. My name is Christopher Cahill, and I'm here with Dan Sharkey, and we're going to be speaking about your summer project, organizing your finances. So thank you for taking the time. We will be efficient with our utilization of it and hopefully allow you to get back to your day. So with that being said, here's our smiling faces. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dan, and I'm actually the newest member of the 12 Points team. Just a quick bit of background on myself. Prior to joining 12 Points, I was at Cambridge Associates, working on client teams advising institutions and families on asset allocation and portfolio construction, and most recently at Fortis Management Group, where I worked with individuals and families on all aspects of financial planning, including estate planning, insurance, and risk management, as well as charitable giving. So I've basically spent the whole career working with families and hopefully can help you navigate this presentation.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dan. And we're obviously very pleased to have Dan join our team here at 12 Points. He brings a really deep subject matter expertise and background in all areas of wealth management. So give him a round of applause, and off we go. As you know, you've probably heard me before, Christopher Cahill. I'm a partner and principal at the firm. I'm a recovering attorney, I like to say. I no longer practice, but I specialize in all aspects of wealth management for affluent individuals, business owners, C-suite executives, working particularly with lawyers and law firms. And my background, as you see here, has been doing all of those things for the past 20 years. So again, thank you for your time, and we're just going to jump right into it.
Perfect. And as Chris noted, we worked hard to pull this together. We'll try to get you through this in 30 minutes so you can get back to your day. We first just wanted to start with a quote from Ben Franklin that simply reads, for every minute spent organizing is an hour earned. I think we can all subscribe to the frustration that is felt when something such benign such as keys or a cell phone is misplaced. But the question we ask ourselves is, what if something of real importance, such as a tax return during an IRS audit, can't be located? We can help mitigate that risk by taking the necessary steps outlined in the following slides. And I think you'll find that the recommendations in this presentation are relatively easy to implement and will simplify and improve your comfort level in maintaining your financial records.
Absolutely, and it's just prudent to pay attention to where your stuff is housed.
And just to point this out, in addition, we've also tackled this question via a blog post on our website. We will circulate the checklist you see here to all after the presentation, but encourage everyone to take a look at the 12 Points blog at 12pointswealth.com. I think you'll find several resources, including what's mentioned here, helpful, and we touch on a variety of subject matters should any questions arise. So just wanted to point that out before we move on.
Excellent. So what are the sorts of records that we need to be paying attention to and that we're going to be talking about today? Broad parameters, estate planning documents, near and dear to my heart, your wills, your trusts, your healthcare proxies, your durable powers of attorney, your homesteads, your deeds, all of those things. clearly are important documents and need a special home in your home. Records regarding your debts, your credit cards, your auto loans, your mortgage, certainly, personal loans and student loans. So many of us, and you out there, I'm certain, have student loans. That's an area of particular focus these days, so having that stuff organized is critical. Your investments, your bank, your brokerage statements, your retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, thrift savings plans, all of these are critical components. And if you had only 5 areas in your file cabinet, hopefully you'd have an area for your estate planning, your debt, your investments, your retirement, and your personal, which includes things like your health insurance, your life insurance, disability, birth and death certificates, etc. So how do we do that? Most of us recognize this picture here, the old file cabinet, the steel case file cabinet that tends to hide in everybody's office or in their basement, wherever they tend to keep their documents. These are very helpful for keeping paper documents. Many folks continue to do that. I am among that group with the gray hair that you saw in the picture. So I like paper documents, although I am getting more comfortable with the digital. Certainly you want to keep your tax returns, your working papers, those insurance policies, your social security cards, etc. Beneficiary designations, we're going to stop here for a second. This is an area that is so strewn with issues and mistakes for even the most savvy planners and clients. Really, really critical to pay attention to your beneficiary designations. So just going to spend a minute talking about this because I think it's critical, although not necessarily the focus of this presentation here, but important. So beneficiary designations, what am I talking about? On your 401k, you need to identify the person that will inherit that asset when you pass away. Typically, when you become an employee and you sign up for your 401k, you'll fill out a beneficiary designation form. If you're married, that will likely be your spouse, unless he or she has signed a consent form allowing someone else to be named. But otherwise, if you're not married, it could be a parent, a sibling, a friend, a partner, whomever. Paying attention to those, keeping good records of those, and then revisiting those on a rather frequent basis, at least every year or two, is important. Times change, marital status change, relationships change. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to those and that you know where they are. And same sort of thing for your IRAs and or any annuities that you may have. Your loan documents, things like that, appliance manuals, warranties. I can't tell you how often I have to refer to those. Just this weekend I was struggling with my weed trimmer and I was able to pull out the manual because I had it in a nice little folder. So here we come to the time periods. This is something that people ask us all of the time. How long do I need to keep my taxes? Standard answer, 7 years. Most people don't, but you should keep them for 7 years. IRA record, your contribution to your IRAs, certainly want to keep those forever. Why? You need to track your basis. Your retirement savings plan statements, keeping those forever, says here, might be a little aggressive, but I think having certainly plan documents going back for the last couple of years would be appropriate. Bank records, again, you can have personal preference on that. Some people can have them going way, way back, and that can be helpful. Although so much stuff is digital today that I don't know that you need to keep those forever. Your brokerage statements are important to maintain. I would keep those for 7 years as well as the taxes. Your bills, I would submit to you, unless it's a massive bill and you think there's going to be a problem, 1 to 2 years is probably appropriate. Your credit card receipts and statements, maximum of 7 years, probably 2 to 3 would suffice. Your paycheck stubs are appropriate to keep. I tend to keep them with my tax returns. So that, I think, is a good thing to do, at least for a year or two. Your credit bureau reports, should you be getting those, I would get a new one and shred the old one. It is important to pay attention to those. There's oftentimes areas of misreporting that can impact you negatively. It never impacts you positively, right, Dan?
No, it's never moving up, that's for sure.
So you certainly want to pay attention to that. And medical information, certainly you want to maintain those records for at least 5 to 7 years. And those are the traditional holding periods. If you have any questions on anything more specific, by all means, reach out to us. And certainly you can ask us any questions through the comment box here as we're going through this as well.
And along with the active files that Chris mentioned, which you would typically see in a steel filing cabinet in your house, getting a safe deposit box for truly important documents is really critical. The safe deposit boxes are available at most any local bank and are relatively inexpensive to rent and provide an ability to store your most sensitive materials safely and securely, both from physical dangers such as fire or water, but also from theft or any type of computer hacking. It would basically sit in a bank vault and not be online or any other type of source in which others who don't have the best intentions would be able to access it. This ensures that items don't get misplaced, they don't get lost in a move, they don't stick to the back of a receipt that you're trying to throw away, anything like that. And also something worth considering, depending on how much you travel, putting your passport in your safe deposit box could also be a good idea. You don't want to create a situation in which you have to go to the bank every other month to get a passport, but if you travel infrequently, it's not a bad place to keep it. That way you know it's safe and secure if you ever need to rely on it in the future. Items to discard. Again, that list that we provided earlier is traditional, and depending upon how electronic copies of your files are stored, this may not be as important, but we want to ensure that there's never a bad time to cull the papers that you don't need. A key component of staying organized is ensuring that you get rid of things that are no longer applicable to your financial world. If you've collected old salary statements after your tax returns have been filed, manuals that Chris described for appliances that have been replaced, please feel free to discard those. If your house is anything like mine, I'm sure there is a stack of Bed Bath & Beyond coupons that have long since expired, and getting rid of those will certainly make your life less cluttered and allow you to stay more properly organized. One item to note, that if you do discard old statements or any other document with an identifying number or an account number on it, please make sure to shred those. Just a quick review on Amazon, there are a ton of good options for less than $50, and it's a really helpful thing to keep in your house, so that way you can sleep at night when you put your trash or recycling out, knowing that there's no bank account number or social security number floating around for someone to come snoop through your garbage and find. It's just an easy way to kind of eliminate a low-hanging risk.
And certainly, to your point, Dan, once you buy one of those and it's staring at you from the corner of your desk, it makes you a little more prone to actually doing that clean out. So it's a good idea.
Yeah. I can easily say from personal experience, it quickly becomes your favorite appliance in the house, because it's amazing when you reach into your desk and you find only your crucial records, and everything else that's been cluttering your life has now been eliminated. It's a really great thing to have handy. As we enter into 2018, there's a new aspect of your life that you really should consider, and that's what we've been calling digital assets. Examples of digital assets would be your email account, social media accounts such as Facebook or Instagram. If you or a family member were to pass away, for example, it's really important that you be able to secure the passwords for those accounts so that your legacy of your loved ones is protected. You want to ensure that you're controlling what the world can see, and having access to those accounts so they don't live out in infinity is really important.
So true.
And it's also important to note that you don't need to tell anyone your passwords outside of a spouse or immediate family member, depending on your comfort level. It is important, though, that the information can be located if it's necessary. So we just want you to think about where you're storing the information and how it can be accessed if the situation were to ever arise. And for those who are technically inclined, password managers such as LastPass and Dashlane are frequently used applications, which are also really helpful. They're apps that you have on your phone that in essence, create a 20-digit character password that is very difficult to hack. So that's one such thing if you're technically savvy.
And we know you're all technically savvy, so you're on this webinar, so that's kudos there.
Exactly, and that actually is a perfect segue into what is perhaps the most overlooked aspect of organizing your financial life. Up until this point, we have mainly focused on what to save and where to save it. Just as important as actually holding on to those documents, however, is ensuring that the people you trust or that you trust as stewards of your information once you are gone can actually find what they need. An account or password directory should be created with the location of each important document and saved in a place that's accessible. One key component, as Chris mentioned, beneficiary designations, where, ensuring that people know that you have life insurance policies, where they can be found, which companies that they are with, what are the account numbers. And by having all that information in one place, you don't have to worry about people searching high and low through all your information to actually find what they're looking for if something were to happen to you. Very similarly with your tax returns, you should keep them for 7 years, and knowing exactly where they're kept in case you do get a question from the IRS is very, very important. One item I always feel that it's necessary to note, if the IRS does contact you, it will be through the mail. Emails and phone calls would not happen as an initial first contact, so please note that those can be ignored. Everything for the IRS will come through the mail. Taking the time to create this roadmap is a really vital step, and it's just as important as saving information in the first place. If you save all this information in a great spot that makes sense to you, but no one else can find it, you're really not executing what you had desired in the first place. We would recommend reviewing this list annually or each time a change is made, and you'll find that it actually takes very little time and provides tremendous personal comfort to know exactly where everything is saved and exactly how it can be accessed. One key question that I'm sure that some people are already asking in their head is it better to save things electronically or on paper? And quite frankly, there is no right answer to this question. Chris will discuss in the next slide. There are digital solutions such as Everplan, which are very useful because they create an ongoing record that can constantly be updated and stored. However, if you are concerned about security, going the old-fashioned route and keeping your account directory on paper in your safe deposit box is also a great way to go. There really is no right answer. It just truly depends on your comfort level. Just ensure that whatever decision you make, that the person that you would hope can access information actually knows where to look.
Well said, well said. So Everplan's technology platform that we've partnered with here at 12 Points is a secure digital archive for all manner of aspects in your financial and throughout the balance, other aspects of your life. It's not simply financial. So it will help you secure the wills, trusts, insurance policies, health and medical information, important passwords, your desire. Do you wish to have a traditional burial with a casket? Would you prefer to be cremated? What do you want to have done with your ashes if you are? All of those things can be memorialized here through Everplans. It is a really secure program, and it allows you to set up proxies and give people access, loved ones, to certain areas, or maybe to all of the things that are important to you that you've decided to post there. Interestingly, you can give people limited access. So if you wanted an accountant to look at a certain component, you could do that. If you wanted your children or spouse to look at the entire component of your Everplan, you can certainly do that. Many of our clients use Everplans not simply for their legal documents, their traditional insurance information, but they'll use it for all manner of other things. They'll put photos up there. They'll post recipes, their grandmother's meatball recipe, all of these crazy things that if otherwise left, might be lost, right? So they're trying to maintain and keep that information for future generations and for their kids and grandkids so that it's all protected in there in a normal, rational fashion. We're big fans of Everplan. Many of our clients also use it, as Dan indicated, to keep a copy of your passport. So it's kind of a digital lockbox, if you will. If you're traveling and you say you're in Paris and you've lost your passport, rather than having to go to the embassy and deal with all of that, you can just jump on your Everplans and print out a photocopy of it and roll like that. So a really cool program. We like it, and they provide a lot of value add to our clients. Moving forward, certainly organizing one's financial life in the summer should really focus on your cash flows. You know me, folks. I'm all about the cash flows, the modeling, and what do the models say? People ask me, can I buy this house? Can I invest in this business? Can I retire now? Should I retire later? The answer very simply is let's look at the models, right? So we utilize a very robust cash flow modeling program here, but in order for us to get the information to be able to build those models for you, you need to be able to understand your personal cash flows. And what does that mean? What your budget is? What are you spending? There's a ton of technology out there that can be brought to bear in this space. If you're, for whatever reason, skittish about this slide and the next slide that I'm going to show you, recognize that you can just go old school and have an Excel spreadsheet and just keep track of your budget that way. But most important is to know what you're spending. Can't tell you how often we come in contact with people that have tremendous wealth but have problems attaining and maintaining their objectives for retirement because they just simply have a spending problem. So recognizing it and knowing what you're really spending is critical. So, oops, sorry, wrong way. So how do we do that? There's many, many apps out there. Personal Capital is a great one. Right now, Mint really was the beginner in this space. They were the forerunner back maybe 10, 15 years ago when they came out. They were the only player in the space. They were acquired by Intuit, which is the folks that brought us QuickBooks and Quicken. So Mint integrates very nicely with QuickBooks and Quicken. You have other programs like Wally and EveryDollar. EveryDollar is a really cool program. It allows you to just simply put in your paycheck and it accounts for every dollar. You'll set up a budget and say, this is what my mortgage is, this is what I anticipate spending for insurance, car payments, so on and so forth. And should you go over any of those spends, you'll get an alert, and it just allows you to pay attention and be ever present with regard to what you're spending. So they all have little quirks and idiosyncrasies. Some of them do one component a little better than another. Certainly take a look at them. If you're not using one of these apps at all, you might very well want to pay attention to them. At the same time, many of the banks out there that you're working with have taken great steps to become more tech savvy, and they're really coming forward with their own budgeting programs. See that quite a bit. It's definitely a garbage in, garbage out sort of situation. And it's not the answer to all problems, but if you're focused and if you want to spend a couple of minutes helping categorize stuff through the apps, it can make a big difference in your financial lives. So we're big fans of that. And certainly when we're going to do cash flow modeling for folks, we love to get the information real time from these apps so that we know and we can trust that, okay, in point of fact, your monthly spending is, $10,700 as opposed to maybe it's 15, maybe it's 5, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and one app that we'll talk about in a minute that also would be applicable here is Credit Karma, which allows you to monitor your credit reports without actually dinging you for looking at a credit report. One of the great ironies of credit reports is that you historically have been penalized for looking at them, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but
amazing, isn't it?
That's the way it's been structured. What Credit Karma does, and we'll touch on that briefly, is it allows you to see the accounts that are open, the accounts that are in your name, and any kind of red flags that are held against you. So it's a good way to keep your credit monitored without getting penalized.
Absolutely.
And despite our best efforts, documents get lost. I had to replace my Social Security card. I'm sure there's a birth certificate for someone out there who that needs to be replaced as well. But fear not. Most government documents can be replaced, though I would caution that your patience probably would be required when dealing with the federal government. One website that is very helpful, the Registry of Vital Records and Statistics, offers a state-by-state database, which is a very good place to start. You may live in Massachusetts, born in New Jersey, so how do I navigate those two states? You probably have to go back to where you were born for a birth certificate, let's say. So that's a great place to start to identify what steps I need to take, who do I need to contact, and how long it'll approximately take, and what the requirements are to get those records fulfilled. But you can basically get anything replaced. So if you are missing something, if you're not, we can have that rectified. And if you live in Massachusetts and you listen to the radio in the car, I'm sure you've heard the ad for Mass Money. But I can't stress enough how important it is just to check. Unlike other websites, you don't have to put in anything other than your name, and it will produce a massive list of anyone that corresponds to those inputs. It takes about 10 seconds, and it's worth checking because you may have something out there from an old IRA. You may have something from an old bank account that remains unclaimed. At the frequency and velocity in which people change jobs, it's very easy to have multiple accounts build up over time that you don't know where they are. So I would take the 10 seconds on your lunch break and just pop your information in. It really doesn't hurt, and you may be pleasantly surprised with what you see.
No doubt, no doubt. So little things definitely make a big impact. How does one go about making sure that you don't miss the important stuff in the sea of information, right? So we all get flooded with emails, and whether it's an offer from Nordstrom's or some other unsolicited thing, it tends to just keep you from being focused on your finances. One great way to do that is to set up a separate email account for your financial information. So anything, whether it's bank related, credit cards, mortgage, insurance related, all of that goes to one account and one account only. That's the critical. And then if you're going to be going to Nordstrom's or to Amazon and all of those things where you're going to get inundated with offers and all sorts of other stuff, which might be important. You might want to know about the Nordstrom sale, but it's not financially critical. Have two separate accounts. Just very simply split it up, and that way you know that you're less likely to lose important communications in the sea of never-ending drips that you get on a daily basis in your email account. Credit cards and the loyalty programs, the point aggregators, great stuff. There's tremendous value that can be had there. Many of our clients and the majority of us here at the firm spend a lot of our dollars via credit cards because we're getting points. Points.com is a great aggregator. It helps you pay attention to what you're doing and you don't lose those points. It helps you track them and make sure that you're getting the benefit of them. Then we come back to the Credit Karma here that Dan was just talking about. Hugely important component. Paying attention to your credit score is something that you shouldn't be doing the day that you're going to buy a big ticket item. You shouldn't be finding out that day that there's something lurking there that is either wrong or hadn't been updated. You should know that well in advance. So paying attention to your credit score is critical, and certainly we've all seen the identity theft issues that are rampant out there today. LifeLock has made a huge splash in the industry, paying attention to this space and just focused on it. If you've been hacked or if you feel like you've been hacked, you might want to pay attention to LifeLock. There's a good reason why when these big companies announce a data breach, they're going to offer you a year or two free LifeLock, because they know that that program is good at making sure that there's no unwanted utilization of your personal records and finances. And let's face it, it's good PR and good defense at that point. Hopefully you're not going to find yourself in that position, and certainly the better way to do it is to be protected up front. Another component that we don't have on this slide, but something that's similarly important, I think, as it relates to potential credit issues and getting hacked, is if you're concerned about that, and you ought to be, you might want to consider having your credit frozen. So what does that mean? If you have 3 credit cards, say, you can simply call up those credit card manufacturers and companies and ask them to freeze your credit and say, you know what, I'm not planning on buying anything big anytime soon, so I'm just going to lock it. So should somebody steal your information and hack your hack your personal information and they try to go out and set up a new account to buy a car or some other exotic asset, they're not going to be able to because your account will be locked. Doesn't mean that you can't do that. Should you decide 6 months or a year later, geez, I actually need to get a loan for whatever, a new home or a new car, you can simply go unlock the account, purchase what you want, and then lock it again. Really simple tool to take action against having your personal information utilized against you. Talk about it all the time with our clients. I will admit most of our clients don't do it. They should, they don't. They find it burdensome for whatever reason, but the ones that have had issues all are operating with a locked credit history. So please pay attention to that.
And if you do lock your credit, what will happen is you'll be issued a PIN. And if you're issued that PIN, you can simply fold it into your account director or passwords file that we've just been talking about. It's a really important tool. And as Chris mentioned, as long as you have that PIN, it's very easy to undo, and no one will be able to pull your credit. So you wouldn't be able to get any loan issued because no credit is available. It's as if your credit doesn't exist. And it's a great way to truly protect yourself for someone doing something nefarious.
Great point. So here we are. Wow, 31 minutes. That's a record. We thank you for attending today and hope that you'll be joining us for our upcoming presentation, Higher Education, Savings and Planning. Really important component. This is going to be done by our own Greg Phillips and Jared Bilodeau. Look for that September 26th. Until then, hope you have a great summer. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We've got our contact information here. And if you need Dan, it's dan@12pointswealth.com or myself, Chris at 12pointswealth.com. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.